When I started my first company, it was called SVS, Sillars Visual Services. What? Ooh, yuck. Eesh. This video is about finding the right name for you, and let me tell you, Sillars Visual Services was not the right name. I came to the conclusion of a better name down the road. Actually, it was an outside person that helped me figure it out. And I'm going to share some ideas with you to help you figure out the best name for you. Now, the first idea is the simplest. Pick out a keyword related to your business. And there are a few things I want you to think about related to the keyword in a moment. But first, I want you to go through this exercise. Just write down that keyword related to your business on a piece of paper and then just start writing, adding additional words to it. Maybe break it down. Maybe think of different ways in which you can express that word. Maybe you can add adjectives to it. There are a number of things that you can do to make that keyword much more exciting. You need to have a name that is memorable. You may want to even consider a name that makes people happy, because you much rather have people who are happy talking about your name than making them sad just because it has a depressing sound. So years ago, I gave SVS to an art director who is really good at creating logos. His name was Shane, and he took it on and he worked with it for a few days, and I came back and I met with him, and what he showed me was not SVS. Actually, he changed the name of my company. He's like, Sillars Visual Services just doesn't work. SVS is not working. What is working is your name, Rosh. So Shane took my first name and turned it into a logo. And you know, honestly, Rosh is easy to say, it's easy to share, and people don't forget the name. Once they understand it, know it, and connect it with me, it really has proved beneficial. Coming up with the name of your business is not easy, but don't overthink it, but think it through. There are a number of things you need to consider, such as, like I mentioned, is it easy to say? Is it complicated? Is it really tough? I worked with a company for a number of years that had a name that people just fumbled through every time. And believe it or not, sometimes people will not refer you because your name is hard to say, or they don't want to call you because, or even talk to you because they don't want to have to say your name. They're embarrassed, and you don't want to make it difficult for people to connect with you. Now, there are a number of things you can do, and actually I have an idea. If you have no idea how to come up with a name, I have a few tricks for you, actually a couple tools that might get you started. But let's talk a little deeper about how you can start exploring a new name for your new startup, new app, or website. Are you looking for a new name for your company or startup or app or website? If you are, put name in the comments below. Once you have your list of names, maybe it's 10, 20, 50 names, start saying them out loud. Now, through this process, you may come up with other keywords that you start creating names out of, but start saying them out loud and see what these sound like. Are they fun? Are they exciting? Most importantly, are they shareable? Let me tell you why. A fun, shareable name actually costs you less to advertise because more people will actually say your name and share it with other people, and it's a lot easier to remember. So if you don't have to advertise 7 to 10 times for people to remember your name, your advertising costs go down. And that's why it's important to have a good, shareable, easy to remember name. Now, I know some of you are thinking about using initials, and that is an option. Maybe you have a partner and you want to use initials, but the thing is, I live in Detroit and there are tons of engineering companies here, and they all seem to have initials as part of the name, and that just seems to be the standard. Well, if you want to stand out, don't be the standard. The thing is, initials, well, they're cold. It's hard to add some kind of emotional connection to initial names. There are a lot of very famous and successful companies who have used initials. International Business Machines. IBM is an old school name, but people knew what IBM was all about, that it was a business machine company, typewriters and computers and so forth. but it took a while. They had to make solid inroads to get people to understand what that name was about when they just heard IBM. But eventually there was an emotional attachment to that. You should really start off with a name that people are going to connect with early on, that they're going to have fun with. Now, if you have a name that you can break down into initials, such as ACE, or something that people can take, and maybe your biggest fans truly understand the inside of it, sometimes it can work to your advantage. But you need to make sure that you have a plan around that name and understand why you're offering up the initials. Initials are cold. Initials are not usually the best way to start. You want to stand out from the crowd, and most of the time, initials are not the way to go. Now on this channel, we're all about combinations. Finding our unique success combination is a big part of this channel. Everyone has to understand what to hold on to and what to let go of. But developing a combination in your name can be very powerful too. For example, think about it, Evernote. That tells you exactly what that product is all about. Evernote. So when you mash up words, mash up ideas, and put them together to help tell the story of what your product or service does, that's quite often a winning combination. If you plan on staying regional or local, you might want to use a city name or a landmark within your region, town, or city. That can be a way that can help people feel attachment to your company early on. Even if you want to go national, you might want to take the time to look on a map. Sometimes we can find really interesting names just with the geography around us. Maybe there's an interesting river, a region, a mountain, a lake. You never know what you might find, words that you never thought of, but actually have some sort of meaning. There may be a keyword that you feel is extremely relevant to your business. You feel it represents your brand, it tells your story, but unfortunately, other companies feel the same way. They're using the same keyword to describe their company, and maybe the market is oversaturated with that keyword. So it's hard to separate yourself from the competition when that's the situation. So what you might want to do is take a look at other languages and see if you can find a really cool sounding version of the word you want to use in another language, maybe French or Spanish, Russian. Who knows where you'll find a great way to say what you're trying to say in English. And if you're having trouble finding a keyword, well, take a moment and look in the dictionary. Some people just open it up randomly and point. You might just find an interesting word that you never thought of. Or take a look around and see if you can find a keyword that's related to your business and will help describe your business, but you never thought about it before because, well, you may not even known the word existed.
If you run out of ideas to create a name for your business, you can go to businessnamegenerators.com. There are actually a number of business name generators available online. This is one of my favorites, and what you can do is first check out the generic names that you might want to consider. But if you have a keyword, for example, I'll use media. Just type in media and hit enter. And as you can see, the system comes up with a variety of names, and each one of the names has your keyword in it. And, you know, some of them will be right on target, others will not. But this will give you a starting point to come up with something new.
Now, once you find your great name, there's one more thing you need to do. Make sure it's available. Can you trademark that name? Can you find the .com? Is it available, at least at a reasonable price? And also check out social media. Can you get that name for Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, wherever you feel your social media will lead you? The thing is, you need to make sure that you really do own that name and someone else is not going to take it from underneath you, or that they are already making a brand, a totally different brand using that name. You want that name to be yours. Another thing you need to consider is that name future-proof. In other words, will it go out of style? Is there something in that name that will seem old-fashioned 10 years from now? These are things you need to consider because you want your name to last through the ages.
If you have a few good ideas and you're not sure which one to select, one thing you can do is create a poll on a social site such as Twitter. All you need to do is hit tweet and click on the add poll icon. And then from there, you can type in the various ideas, maybe 3 or 4, and let your community help you decide which one is the best one, because most likely people will pick the one that's most shareable to them.
Hey, I'll see you in the next video right here.